What's going on, boxing fans? It's Julian Williams with The Distance. I'm here to give everybody a prediction that you've all been waiting for. And no, this isn't Floyd versus Mosley. I will do that next month, most likely. Probably early on next month. But anyway, this prediction is Wladimir Klitschko versus Fast Eddie Chambers. This fight, a lot of people have been waiting for the longest time, since July, after Eddie Chambers had that big victory against Alexander Dimitriko. And Wladimir Klitschko, he's been out of the ring against, the fight with Ruslan Shagaev back like in June 20th. So, overall, this is a very intriguing fight, because out of all the heavyweight fights, if anybody could potentially beat Wladimir Klitschko, it would be Eddie Chambers. And what's intriguing about this fight, and what draws a lot of attraction to this fight, is the fact that Wladimir and his brother Vili had never been outboxed. They've never been outboxed, but the fact that they haven't been outboxed, but for Wladimir, his losses only come from knockouts from Ross Purity, Layman Brewster, and Corey Sanders. Were the fighters that knocked out Wladimir. And really, what I noticed about in a lot of Klitschko fights, especially for Wladimir, fighters don't focus on boxing against Wladimir. They want to land on the chin. They want to land on his chin because Vladimir's been down quite a few times in his career. A few fights he's been down. So fighters mainly focus on landing on the chin of Wladimir rather than boxing against him. Eddie Chambers is the type of fighter who's gonna box against Klitschko. This is gonna be a very intriguing fight. But the question in this fight is, will an American bring the heavyweight championship back to the United States, or will Wladimir continue his reign as heavyweight champion? My thoughts on the fight: Eddie Chambers, good hand speed, good general movement in the ring. He doesn't necessarily stay on his toes, but he does use his legs a lot. In this fight, he does need to use his hand speed, and he does need to use his legs more often than he normally does. For Eddie Chambers, last year for me was my comeback fighter of the year. When I was on Rope Little Radio, I said, hey, Eddie Chambers, fell into obscurity, after the loss to Alexander Povetkin in January 2008, and now, he's on one of the top heavyweight fighters. He's one of the prospects on top of the heavyweight division, or contenders, as you can say now. Preparation for this fight, you can't get any better competition than Povetkin, Peter, and Dimitriko. You can't get any better. You can't get any better preparation for a fight against a Klitschko than that. See, Chambers to me wasn't built up to beat a Klitschko. He was brought up properly. He fought good levels of opposition that that led him up to this point. So in this fight, he does need to use that experience against these other fighters. Though one of these fighters lost to Wladimir in 2005 or 2006, he does really need to use that boxing ability to his advantage, the hand speed. He does need to use his legs a lot more. In the Sam Peter fight, he didn't really use his legs that much. In the Dimitriko fight, he didn't use his legs that much. But he does know how to use his legs. He knows how to move. He knows how to use his hands and pretty much just let his hands go. And in this fight against Wladimir, he has to let the hands go. A lot of people question, how does Eddie Chambers get inside that Klitschko jab? Really, he doesn't want Klitschko to throw the jab. He wants to get his shots off before Klitschko could throw his shots off. Klitschko does a very good job of pressuring you with that left jab. So really, I think that Chambers just needs to get his shots off first. He needs to out hustle Wladimir. He has to move around the ring, he has to use his legs. He has to, and pretty much it's like a lot of in and out. In and out. Get his shots off and get out of the, and get out of the pocket. Get out of the area. Just consistent movement. Just being, it's pretty much, just letting the hands go. It's really what Eddie Chambers can do to win this fight: outworking, out hustling. Getting, like I said, getting the shots off first. Will get Eddie Chambers this matchup. And can get him the matchup convincingly. And I think that's all Eddie Chambers needs to do to get this match. He doesn't need to focus on a knockout or anything. Wladimir Klitschko does a very good job of setting you up for the knockout with the left jab. Hell, he's like one of the few boxers that I've seen, other than his brother, who can knock you out using the jab. Wladimir Klitschko, like I said, left jab, but the left jab for Wladimir Klitschko sets up 2 shots. The left jab could either set up the left hook, which he throws very well and has a lot of power with, or the right hand, the straight right hand. He'll follow up that left jab with one of those shots. Wladimir is the type of fighter that will wear you down using his left jab. He could stand back. He can use his left jab for a full 12 rounds. That's how powerful that jab is. But in this fight, I think he really needs to keep that jab out there. If you look at the Ibragimov fight, Wladimir just kept throwing, and if you look at the fight closely, observe it closely, Wladimir kept using his left hand to kind of knock down that Ibragimov right hand, because Ibragimov did have a quick right hand. I think in this fight he needs to do a lot of that, a lot of knocking down the right hand, and in order to get his shots off. Though Chambers is not, I don't think Chambers is even a southpaw fighter, but I do think that if he knocks down the hand and follows it with the right hand, that will really offset the offense of Eddie Chambers or whatever. I think that the left jab is going to work. Keeping the jab out there, keeping the range, keeping the distance, because it's like this. Chambers, he does have his moments to where he doesn't really work. He kind of just he's just kind of there. He doesn't really work, and it happens toward the later rounds when he doesn't let his hands go and he's kind of going single shot. I think that Wladimir should just continue just throwing his left jab and wear him down using the jab, wear him down and try his best to set him up in the later rounds. But in this fight, Wladimir may want to go for the knockout in this fight. Because Eddie Chambers does give him a lot of problems. So I do think that constantly pressuring him with the left jab and kind of zeroing in, not necessarily teeing off. Just kind of zeroing in and closing that gap like he did against Shigaev. Could set up a very late knockout. But one thing you have to wonder in this fight, since Eddie Chambers doesn't really possess the power of the fighters that have knocked out Wladimir Klitschko in the past, will Wladimir take a risk, of getting in the ring and not worry about being knocked out, because Wladimir is very defensively aware and doesn't really take risk. Will Wladimir take risk in this fight? Will Wladimir not fight so cautiously? That's the one big question in this fight. But if I have to make a choice for this fight, which is very hard, I'm going to go with Wladimir Klitschko by unanimous decision. I just think that Wladimir will take the later rounds of the fight and get a unanimous decision. Being the bigger fighter, I think Wladimir is there to fight the full 12 compared to Chambers, who, his last fight he was there to fight the full 12, but sometimes a lot of stuff becomes habit, and he doesn't fight the full 12. But me, I'm going to go with Wladimir Klitschko by unanimous decision. But anyway, that was this.